Hello.
Hey, Vish. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, Ben. Good, thank you. Just trying out your PR.
Yes, I did. I fixed all the linter. I think I fixed all the linter issues, but
Yeah, I think it looks
I'm
great.
running one issue. One issue.
I know, yeah, he just Wim just pinged me. It's like some sort of local issues once you use
Did anyone pass the linter so far? Because I had to fix things in Terraform and shell scripts, and I've been fixing things all over the place. Not just my own stuff.
Actually, I was actually using your, I didn't even pull your PR. I took your original from the repo. I created a VM in Google Cloud, and I was trying to execute your, Ansible scripts, but I ran into issues there. I don't know if I don't know the VM. I think it's a cloud image for the cloud image of Ubuntu. I think it is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the username and password, but for some reason I'm not able to.
Okay, we can debug that offline.
Yeah.
Okay, let's maybe discuss it offline. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a call. I can only stay for half an hour or something, but I'll ping you when I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, when I look to the Ansible, I'm familiar with the Ansible playbook a little bit, but of course, with the inventory file is not something that I'm not too familiar. I was like wondering what I was doing. Then I realized it's actually the VM itself, that I'm using in GCP, where I'm not able to because I needed the 8 GB, 8 core and 32 GB to try out your thing. That's why I use the Google Cloud to create the VM. I can't seem to get the username and password. I can't seem to use the external IP address too. Anyway.
Okay. You have a private SSH key?
Don't have a private SSH key. It's like when you bring up the Google VM, it actually allows you to log in through the web browser itself.
But do you? Okay, we'll discuss
things that
offline.
used to work while doing the workshops don't seem to work now. Maybe question for John or yeah.
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with the workshop. I have the feeling. I think it's just. But okay.
It sounds like access problem.
Yeah, correct. It's purely an access problem to the
permissions
issue. VM.
Which hopefully, if John is going to join, I pinged
John,
him too.
doesn't sound like he's going to join. So
he's not going to join. Okay.
I think this new time conflict with one of his meetings.
Oh, okay.
Because even the previous meeting, he said he has another call that he has to attend, which isn't this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like the time change has shifted everybody into conflicts and all that problems.
Yeah, he did a poll. I think probably he may change the other meeting.
Yeah, he's going to change the SIG 2 because weekly, most people would not be able to do the every other week for some reason. Yeah, it's been very lightly attended. Like last week's meeting is like less than 20 people, I think, which is pretty rare for SIG 2. And most people complain. I mean, I had to miss like 20 minutes because I had to drop off kids in the morning for SIG 2. So every other week is not working out for me neither over there. But yeah, I think most people would like to have this back to about 9 a.m. Not this, but then the SIG 2 meeting. Yeah, this one I have a dependencies on the last one. So unless the SIG 1 meeting also changed, it's not very it's not even feasible to change. Or maybe that's an opportunity to leave an hour between the two. I don't know, but then oh well. Okay, so this is already being recorded. This is the SIG release meetings for December 12th, 2022. So that will actually be the last one for the year. So welcome. Well, given that this is the last meeting for the whole year, so I guess this just kind of leads to I don't expect folks to be around, obviously, for the holiday season. That's why we canceled the next meeting for one. I mean, no one would be coming on the December 26th meeting if we still hold it anyway. So there's no reason to have it. And then I also don't expect folks to be like doing stuff during this time. So leading up to next year, I think the most important thing, obviously, is we would sort of expect, hopefully, official code to start to come in. At least the code that we did on POC in SIG 2 meetings, we should talk about what we want out of that and what is official out of that, and then start pushing some of them to more official release after going whatever the release process or the design process. So I mean, none of them has design doc right now, which I think SIG 2 talked about having a design doc, iterating on Google Docs, and then convert it into MD files and save it into the official repo before the code goes in. So none of that is there. I don't know whether or not that process is something we want to finalize as a community, but then obviously it would be nice to have some design doc. Otherwise, everyone have to read code to know what's going on. And then none of that actually is happening on the POC code. At least for sure the part that I did had no design doc. I'm pretty sure for other people as well, other than the John's very nice description document, which really isn't a design doc yet at this point. So we'll have to patch those, and obviously no one has unit tests, so those things has to come in.
No. And there's one more thing, Stephen, which I wanted to discuss is some libraries that, because what you see right now is, that's why I did not refactor my code, but I wanted to discuss it at some point. I don't know which SIG is the right SIG, but so what you see is that it would be good to have a repo where we can store some libraries that we reuse in the various repos. Because, for example, if you look to those injectors and stuff like that with the iPad, there is code that I reuse all over the place. So it would be good to basically add that in, that we have a library somewhere that we can use, and then
yeah, right.
Or do you want to put it in a main
actually,
repo?
so co-organization is definitely between us and two. We have to decide. I mean, for one thing, when we publish the CLDs should be on a different repo too, because more than one operator should be operating on those same CLDs. And so is library. Actually, for me, when I did my original demo, which is what I guess the PLC demo is based on, I wrote what 2 or 3 controllers, right? So the management cluster controllers all use the same mechanisms to clone package and generate new package, and they have the same call, except the call is like 2 different set. One set is prior to cloning, the other one is after updates, do another pushback. So I was trying to make them into libraries, but then obviously with the rush, that also spaghetti code to be the controller replicate that code everywhere, and I copy it from John, for example. So it's also in John's controller, which is also in
so it's a bit. We should do a bit of discussion on the structure of the repos maybe, and then because I didn't want to start to refactor if we know that we are going to change again and then do the unit testing and what have you.
Yeah, and well, the path would change too, because some of them I have to wait until it get checked in before I can link it on Go. so that's like chicken and egg. Wait for some libraries to come in before we even be able to link the right one. Yeah, so we have to do that, and then before even doing that, then I'm hoping we would actually have Prow running, and then so Prow by itself doesn't do anything until you start adding unit test, obviously, into it. But then we would like to set it up. So go ahead, Vish.
So Stephen, where are you tracking all the things that needs to be done in the SIG release?
All the things that we're supposed to do. I'm going to I'm gonna write on a doc. But then supposedly we should actually put issues. And anyone who wants to make them up.
Well, yeah, once we do that, I think formally, because we should track this in Jira. It's not Jira, the GitHub issues.
I don't know if we have Jira.
No, not Jira. I meant the GitHub.
Yeah, GitHub issues. Yeah.
GitHub issues. Yeah. Then we can use labels for different SIGs. I think that's one of the in one of the docs I mentioned.
Yeah, your process. Yeah, your
processing.
Development process.
We could use that as a label, which SIG is responsible for which one, things like that. I mean, I think the process is there.
I mean, for one, the contributors were pretty much the same set of people, but yes, we know which SIG is supposed to be tracking what. So in the meetings, we can be more focused on tracking what's there.
Right. We should do that, and then probably once I think I'm hoping that all those things will happen organically in the new year when the new code starts coming in for the actual product.
Yeah, so for the actual code base, yeah. So the thing that we're leading up to release V1, which is, well, I mean, the countdown announced time is May right now. So we should targeting at least in January. Obviously, all these things have to be coming up. We should start having code coming in hopefully somewhere around January. At least migrating some of the POC code into the official repos once we have decided what the structure looks like.
I think if it's thinking about May, I would be like concerned from my past experiences. It's like there is a plan, right? There's not a plan at this point of time leading us up to the May thing. If you think
except for dates, there's no plan.
Yeah. Because like to their point, like even what John had said too in one of the calls, like, for folks outside the community to start actually planning their time to contribute, it's good to have a plan so that we can go off and tell our bosses, hey, I think my time is going to be 50% on FEO or 75% on FEO. So for that conversation, we need to have a plan at least. I mean, we need to probably bring this up in the TSC too.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we're not going to talk about the plan in SIG 3. Supposedly SIG 1 has published a very high level user journey and requirement docs. And then as you can see this morning, there's still other requirements coming in. But that's like actually today's requirement is much more specific. So I actually like that a lot. And then it's a lot better than high level, hey, do this type thing.
It needs to happen in each SIG, and each SIG is responsible for their own things. Probably you're not formalized so far, but probably coming new year, Stephen, like you said, probably we should formalize to Vish's point that we could start putting the
yeah, we should create, I mean, this is on Jira, but then more like stories and
tasks and
where you're saying that this is for cluster management, for example, which some people will come in and say that I have code to automate that, versus John and I never put that into like in scope for V1 because we have no people to do it. But then if anyone volunteers and take on the task, then it could actually become V1 scope.
Then we can even
obviously at some point we have to limit what new features are going to come in, but then at this point it's still other than the core things like deploy V5GC, and then eventually can make a call, I guess, over there. I think that's very high level. We still don't know what's in between.
Then we can put together boards as well, like the Kanban boards.
Yeah. And
we probably will start doing it in the coming new year. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to do it anyway. to start suggesting it.
I can do it, Stephen, but probably I think at least from the SIG 2 and the SIG 3 perspective, I can coordinate it. But we need some expertise in terms of what exact work that goes in.
Right. Yeah, and then we have to map out what the dependencies and things like that that we have to have. And then okay. So and at the same time, the setup pieces that you folks did for the ONE Summit obviously is still ongoing. And to make it formalized to a point where anyone can easily spin one, or a machine can actually spin one, that we can do any dynamic test. I do not expect anyway. So I don't know if the community expects that could be something to post. I don't know if we would expect that every commit would require a integration test at this level. I doubt it. I mean, we could have a long running VMs on in GCE, which have a standard, very minimum anyway, set of tests that would be run in a per commit basis. I just wonder if that's actually a bit overkill. It's not a lot of resource, A, and then B is I don't think it takes that long to run for validations. But then I don't know whether or not it's. I mean, we still don't know. We have an estimate of how frequent or how many commits are actually going to rushed in, and obviously it changes, depends on whether or not it's like a particular milestones that we're looking at. At this point. But then if we only run unit tests, Prowl can run them over a dynamically created kind clusters, or that we can have hooks or plugins to hook it up to a test bed to validate, and our test bed the most sophisticated test bed really what we have is basically just you know, the VMs and the setups that we're going to have that we had back in ONE Summit. I don't expect any other things that would come in from now till V1. There's no, we can borrow some hardware if we do hardware validations, but I would probably take that out of scope for now, unless, you know, some people are really interested in doing SRLV type things, because based on Vim's container lab, if we go and adapt that, we can already do some, you know, somewhat complex network topologies on the underlay. So that helps a lot in terms of the validations already. So that would be another thing that you know, I mean, simple bring up prowl we should do soon. Just want to know if we have to explore having another hook to push into further testing on like a per commit basis, or some sort of pre-commit. So post-commit tests, we should run against this for sure. But then, you know, we can do it either daily or per commit. But then we'll have to see how heavy this is.
So what would be the challenges for the per commit? Are there any resource constraints?
It takes more time to actually, so if you're doing pre-commit, obviously every commit, even after approval, or even before approval, actually would take some time to run a set of tests. And then if we have limited resources, let's say we only have no more than 2 or 3 of those setups, then we have to schedule the commit test against those setups, unless we dynamically create setups, obviously. And then that's another things that we have to cross-check with Linux foundations. I don't know what our real budget really is at the end, or if not, then I can check with MySI on Google and see whether or not they can fund something on that front.
Cool.
So my opinion is that given the stage where we are at this point of time, we don't need to do that per commit. That's what I think. Well, that's just my opinion. Obviously, the unit test would run with every merge, right? And then
your unit test has to run on
Yes.
on all the unit tests pertaining to the repo that you're targeting. Yes.
Yes. And then obviously we will not approve the PR without the unit test.
Yeah. So there's no reason to approve something that hasn't passed pre-commit.
Yes. So I
pre-submit.
think given that coverage at this point of time, I don't think we need per commit integration tests.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it's developer friendly, which they get feedback.
Yeah, because another thing is because we're going to have like a number of repos, and the integration test is basically a cross repo validations. So it would the test setups and then the hopefully as much automated as much as possible tests, functional tests, if you will, will be done by polling the latest the latest from multiple repos on a time interval basis. Let's say every day at a certain time, and then cross check to run through the test. So this if you run a test setup have dependencies across different repos. It's not just a single repo. So we have to at this point, if we per commit has to go through a full functional test suite, obviously is not very feasible, because maybe the other one's in flux too during that time. The other repos that we depend on have been flux too in that time. So I mean, it probably introduced a lot more problem because of the structure that we agree on. That we want at least significant components to have their own repos. When we adopted that methodologies, then that means the functional aspects of Nephio is multi-repo integrations before pulling artifacts of multi-repos and run them to validate. So okay. And then actually for the VM and all the setup stuff itself, what conditions are we in right now? I guess this is a question for Vish and others.
I think Vim has got I mean, if
Yeah,
you're
Vim
talking
is also
about
working on it. So yeah. So what are we? What conditions are we looking at right now?
sorry, are you asking about
So
the,
for me,
In general, for all you folks that are working on it. So you have the latest news, right? On in terms of what are what conditions are we looking at in terms of the VM right now? Or the automate setup of the VM.
Okay, so I have so I was able to install it on an E4 standard as what is it, standard 4, I think. So
Oh,
I
really?
think it's
Okay.
4 CPUs. Yes. I was able to install the whole thing in that. I do know there's a bunch of people who are trying the Ansible playbooks because I get regularly questions from various people. I know that I know someone installed it in Azure. I think Ravi, is he on the call? He bumped into an issue, but I think I pointed out what it was. I think
I'm
Vish,
doing
you
it
have
on,
an issue, so we need to.
on GCP VM. I think it's an
Okay.
8 vCPU and something like 16 gig kind of a VM, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And the
So
issue
that's
that
what we used, I think, during the workshop. But then Wim said that he's able to drop it down to just standard for what
half of
VCPUs
it.
and okay.
Yeah. I was just trying it to see how it worked, and that's even with Container Lab and the whole thing that I showed, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all this because I tried to scale down my testing just with 2 clusters, right? One for the NPU and one for the edge, and I was doing it in a stepwise manner so that I exactly know what is getting installed and so on. Yeah, as I said, I had shared that thing where I came to the point where the management cluster was all set and then the edge cluster was set. But then if I were to read the One Summit the participant kind of the steps itself, it says, okay, you need, after some time you are supposed to see this catalog populated with the potential kind of deployments for the edge operator and all that. I didn't see that after I did, I went through the steps through the Ansible playbook, but I did that manually. But the point at which then the point where I'm stuck out is that some of those IPAM injection conditions are not being satisfied. So I'm not able to push the UPF deployment. So so that's where
I will have a look at that. I mean, yeah, if you can give me the output which I asked you, then we can have a look at it.
Yeah, that's why I just kind of DM'd you directly. Probably I thought you might.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
So at this point, automating bring up seems to have some issues, but then in terms of resource constraint, that's not a problem, right? So if Ravi tried with the one, Ravi, you're trying it with the with basically the same configurations that we used during workshop. So
me too.
Okay.
I'm also trying the same. I created a VM in GCP.
So no one said adventurous as Vim, who's like dropping it down too low.
Yeah, I just wanted to try it. I just wanted to try it just to see, and there's still a lot of CPU available.
Okay.
So now, of course, I only have one. I don't know how much resources the 5G core needs. I only run one UPF at the moment, right?
Okay. That. Well, I mean, that should be a stick to discussions, but I plan to bring up SMF too over the next couple of weeks. Since I'm not taking
the only thing that I'm still stuck with is it doesn't go. It needs privileged accesses, right? So that's where I.
Oh yeah, so those things are not up. So as I said, the GTP-U ton device that the init script is using, that is not going to come up, and then the IP table commands they're not N4s. So those are so if it's just communication between UPF and SMF, that I would imagine it would still work. But then I think Ravi tried with just the hum charts, and then that worked. So I'm still kind of puzzled why would it work?
Yeah, I mean, you just use the Helm charts. I mean, I could get the whole thing working, right? The UE ransom as well as I mean, I basically installed the whole 5GC, right, and get the connectivity to the internet and could peg any site and so on. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did not.
In fact,
I
that's
did
not even an
go
if container. This is actually the.
I don't know what is inside
the-
the
the-
specifically if it requires it, but it just works. Yeah.
That thing is actually a config map that contains a script, which is actually the wrapper. So this thing get executed before the UPF executable get executed. So that would leverage on the privileged of the pod itself, which has no, it's not running a privileged mode. So I was actually surprised that it would work. But then
Yeah.
the IP table command is on a pod. They created that for the IP table command on that namespace. So in theory, it should work. I'm actually a little puzzled that it didn't work. So I mean, look, I have to go back to my FreeFiGC operators. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. Yeah, honestly, probably that's probably it. It's probably my problem. Okay, I have to go look at it. Yeah, I'm surprised I see that too, but then I didn't. When I saw it, I didn't quite care at that point because I only had to bring it up. But then to make it work fully, yeah, have to solve that problem. Okay.
Even I'm going to drop off in the next 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I also need to drop. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and let's do maybe. So let me list a set of things, and then we can iterate on that document on what kind of things that we think the on SIG3 is supposed to do for when we kick off next year, and then we should move them into issues once we kind of agree on what to do, and then folks can pick it up, and then but then for sure we need to have some sort of CI capabilities and unit test capabilities. Well, unit tests would come from actually the code commit before we can open up the repos.
Agree.
For sure.
Yeah, Stephen, we should definitely stick to the fact that without unit test, the main repo should not be populated.
Yeah, no. So that is uncompromised. So
Yes.
unless this is done, I'm gonna reject all the code.
If it is related to Golang stuff, me and Bala worked on OVN Kubernetes in the past on Golang stuff, so we can actually, I mean, in the sense we don't have to necessarily do everything on our own, but at least we can guide them. I mean, I'm all for actually everybody in the community trying to, add to things, right? Because they want to try out something new, which they didn't learn elsewhere. So want to be cognizant of that fact. We can actually start working. We can co-author PRs to help other folks to come up to speed as well. I would strongly recommend that, very similar to OpenStack, where people would co-author, right? That way they get the sense of community contribution. So
yeah.
Okay, you guys are not around. This is my last week. After this week, I'll probably be only come Jan 2nd is when I come back. So,
No, yeah, I think that's true across the board for all of us. So the SIG2 meeting this Wednesday one will be the last one for the year.
Yeah.
And then TSC meeting, the last Thursday one was already the last one.
Okay.
And then SIG3 meeting, this is the last one, and so is SIG1, I believe. This morning one, SIG1 is the last meeting for the year, so don't worry. There's no nephew stuff going on for the next 2 weeks in terms of meetings. Yeah.
But I still want to get Vim's via Ansible scripts working. So that's my goal.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, I'm not taking vacation, so I want to get something moving during this time. Take the opportunity.
Maybe if you have access to that project that John had created, where you can
I should. I mean, if I don't, I can kick him to do it. He's still around until before Christmas.
Okay, I'm going to ping you offline. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
So let's
Thank
end
you.
this meeting because all the people are done. So
If we don't speak, everyone have a great holiday season.
yeah, have a good holiday season, and see you guys next year.
Happy holidays.
Actually,
Yeah,
so anyone
bye.
else has anything to talk about before we end the meeting? Just want to make sure. Okay. Well, thank you. See you folks next year.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Bye.